The chaos continues in the Caribbean. United States-led chaos. Now, the US has said that it has not pressured St. Lucia into banning Cuban scholarships. In other words, the US came out with a statement today to say it has not pressured St. Lucia. But guess what? The United States did not say that they did not pressure St. Lucia to ban Cuban scholarships. I will let you know exactly what the United States of America said, but the Prime Minister of St. Lucia several days ago confirmed that the US would have said that it do not want any of its students to visit Cuba for studying purposes. Now, let me read exactly what the US Embassy said just a few hours ago. This is breaking news. This is what the US Embassy said about maybe 4 or 5 hours ago. US Embassy Barbados, or US Embassy Bridgetown. And this reads, the United States has not recently talked to St. Lucia about international education and respects countries' sovereign decisions regarding the education of their citizens. The United States continues to call for an end to the exploitation and forced labor in the illegitimate Cuban regime's overseas medical missions program. Hear what the United States said. What the Prime Minister of Cuba is saying, that the United States does not want St. Lucia to be sending any more students to Cuba. But the United States is not denying this. This is what they are saying. The United States has not recently talked to St. Lucia about international education and respects to the country's sovereignty. So the US is saying it has not talked to St. Lucia in regards to the international education program. Well, of course, maybe they have not talked to St. Lucia in regards to how to manage the international education program. But maybe they have talked to St. Lucia, and told them that they are uncomfortable with them sending students to Cuba because they see, this is what the United States said in their statement, they see Cuba as an illegitimate regime, and they are carrying out forced labor. So maybe they asked St. Lucia to cut ties with Cuba because of that. But they have not talked to them to tell them where to send their students internationally. See how smart the US is? Now, this is what the Prime Minister of St. Lucia said in regards to this, the US. Have a listen of this audio clip from the Prime Minister of St. Lucia just a few days ago.
The US have said no.
That was in regards to the Cuban medical brigade that is being sent to St. Lucia to help out with their healthcare system. The US is not comfortable with that, but this is another news to confirm that the Prime Minister said that the US forced them to not send any students to Cuba. Have a listen of this.
For decades, Cuba has been a cornerstone for educating St. Lucian doctors and medical professionals. However, Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre revealed at the Second World Congress on Racial and Ethnic Health health disparities that shifting geopolitical pressure from the United States has forced a change. He stated that local students can no longer do their medical studies in Cuba.
But we have a big problem. Many of our doctors got trained in Cuba, and now the great United States have said we can't do that any longer. So this is a major problem that I have to face. Some of my colleagues have already taken a position and banned them. So most of our health, most of our doctors, most of them, all right? Yeah, 1, 2, Cuba too. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. 3 of our best doctors are trained in Cuba. Right. Now there also are Cubans who come over to work. Right. So the American government has said that we can't even train them in Cuba. So I have a major issue, man.
Congress Chair, Professor Sir Cato Lorenzen, stated that there are ways to navigate the international pressures being brought to bear on St. Lucia's healthcare system. He pointed to successful initiatives at the University of Connecticut's Cato T. Lorenzen Institute as a roadmap. 2 specific programs are already making an impact, named the St. Lucia Just Us Moving, which focuses on fitness and healthy lifestyles, and St. Lucia Just Us Making Produce. This program focuses on cultivation. Professor Sir Lorenzen also pointed to those in the diaspora supporting St. Lucia's healthcare system.
We're addressing and talking about these disparities at the meeting, including climate change. I think what the minister said is very important. We of the diaspora, who have St. Lucia background, need to work more closely with St. Lucia. I'm an orthopedic surgeon. There are a number of physicians at the meeting, and I think that we would very much like to work with St. Lucia, with the new hospital system, and be a part of it. So while I think that there may be restrictions that may be coming, as I said, when life deals you with lemons, you make lemonade.
Mr. Pierre also addressed the staggering financial hurdles facing local healthcare. One example he provided is the commissioning of the St. Jude Hospital, which carries a price tag of roughly $15 million. He stated that this cost cannot be covered by the national budget, while the government looked to the Citizenship by Investment Program, CIP, to fill the gap. Mr. Pierre noted that the program is facing its own set of challenges.
These disparities, apart from social and economic, they must filter down into health disparities. We have in St. Lucia, we've tried to have a school feeding program where we try to ensure that our kids get at least one solid, nutritious meal per day. But sometimes the funders determine that you have to buy certain foods. I have no choice. So these disparities, unless we as a region can change our lifestyles, can change our thought processes.
The Prime Minister challenged those in the room to turn their data into actionable plans. He insisted that ending healthcare disparities requires real-world results, not just findings published in academic journals. For the DBS News World, Miriam Montoute reporting.
There you had it, my friends. That is what the Prime Minister of St. Lucia said. This is what the U.S. Embassy, Bridgetown, Barbados, said a few hours ago. The United States has not recently talked to St. Lucia about international education and respects countries' sovereignty decisions regarding the education of their citizens. The United States continues to call for an end to exploitation and forced labor in the illegitimate Cuban regime's overseas medical missions program. Man, I want you to comment your thoughts and opinion and let me know, who do you believe? The Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Pierre, or the US government? Now, I believe the Prime Minister of St. Lucia, because why would the Prime Minister of St. Lucia just get up and say the US does not allow them to send students to St. Lucia anymore, when they depend on the students that comes back from Cuba to help with the healthcare system? Why would the Prime Minister sabotage his own government and country and healthcare system? Because you hear what he said, many of the doctors who were in the room, about 3-4 of them in the room at the time, were trained in Cuba. He said their best doctor in the country was trained in Cuba. So of course the Prime Minister would want to continue this relationship, because many of those are scholarships, free scholarships, that Cuba offers several Caribbean nations to study in Cuba. Why would the Prime Minister stop all of that and tell a lie on the great United States of America? Why would he risk that? Number one, why would he risk telling a lie on America and face the consequences? Why would he risk not sending students to Cuba to study for free to help out with their own healthcare system? Makes no sense. So I believe the Prime Minister of St. Lucia, the United States statement did not say, they did not say to St. Lucia, do not send your students to Cuba. They say that they said in their statement, they say they respect a country's international education preferences there. Nothing to do with Cuba. And then they went on to say that Cuba does forced labor and the regime is illegitimate and all of that. So then that confirms to me that the US did say something to St. Lucia in regards to Cuba, because if they see that the country has an illegitimate government, of course they will warn countries not to deal with that illegitimate government. Why would the US want St. Lucia to deal with a government that it sees illegitimate and it sees conducts forced labor for money? So number one, I think the US spoke to St. Lucia and said, look, we're not comfortable with you bringing in Cuban doctors to work, because we think that's forced labor and the Cuban government is getting paid from that. And number two, we're uncomfortable with you sending students to study in Cuba, because we see that the government is illegitimate. We do not agree with what they're doing with their medical program, and we will appreciate that you don't send any more students there. I believe that's how the conversation went. So the US does not have to come out and tell St. Lucia directly, do not send any students there to Cuba or face consequences. They can be very diplomatic with their warnings. And of course, Prime Minister Pierre is a very educated man, very smart man. He reads through the lines, and that is why he came out to his people and let them know what is happening, which is good. It is better to let your people know what is happening than to keep secret, because in this time of digital media, nothing is a secret. So the Prime Minister of St. Lucia did the best thing. Come out and let your people know what is happening. Let the US say what they want to say. You are the Prime Minister of St. Lucia. People will trust you more, because obviously we see and understand what is happening in the Caribbean in regards to visas, wars, the chaos that America is inflicting on the Caribbean. But I want you to comment your thoughts and opinion and let me know, who do you believe, the US government or the Prime Minister of St. Lucia? Comment your thoughts and opinion and let me know who you believe. And if you're watching for the first time, my name is Beyond, and on this channel I react to breaking news that affect our people in the Caribbean and also on the African continent. I release videos several times per week, so to stay up to date, subscribe to the channel, like this video, comment your thoughts and opinions. Let's have a wonderful interactive conversation. You can also become a member of my channel by clicking the link in this description box and sign up to become a member. The mission of this channel is to bring our people together, whether on the African continent or in the Caribbean, whether in North America or Europe, wherever our Black African descent people are, we bring them together. I also have a travel channel called Beyond Travel. To find out the beautiful Caribbean nation that I'm on, click the link in this description box. Go on over to my travel channel, and on that channel I dedicate that channel to travel vlogs showing the island and the culture and stuff like that. So to find out the Caribbean nation I'm on, go on over to my travel channel and make sure to watch all those videos there, and you will know and see the beauty of the Caribbean. Thank you for watching today's video. My name is Beyond. This is Beyond Uncut. Make sure to comment your thoughts and opinion. Let's have a wonderful interactive conversation about this very bizarre situation we are in the Caribbean. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow in the next video. Much love and bye-bye.